Hello there guys, and welcome to my top 10 Season 3 Overwatch Heroes video. It's time to count down and see which Overwatch heroes I think are the most viable picks for the Season 3, as I'm taking the recent patch notes into consideration as well as my experience as a Diamond player will affect my choices here. I'm also collaborating with the YouTuber Jeremy Gaming Curios in this video, as we will be doing a 50-50 split with the 10 entries. My name is Hepodix and I hope you enjoy the video.
What's up guys, it's me Jeremy. So the first entry in our list today is a hero that actually got redesigned recently. Symmetra got an amazing overhaul for her abilities, and she definitely seems to be a lot more viable now, rather than being used sort of situationally for the first point in defense only. Her main weapon, Photon Projector, locks now at a 7 meter range, up from 5 meters, which definitely really helps her out, and the secondary fire remains unchanged, as seen in this comparison. Sentry turrets seem to do much of the same as before, except that now you'll receive all 6 charges every time you spawn into the battlefield. Symmetra's Photon Shield got reworked into a Photon Barrier as well, which is a big step up to her kit as a support, as it sends out a moving shield that has a 10-second cooldown that absorbs 1,000 damage, which is honestly kind of a bit overkill, and the shield will disappear if it gets destroyed, or if the center of the shield hits a wall or an obstacle.
I will shield you.
The last but also important change, of course, with Symmetra is that she can now choose between 2 ultimates, which both have 50 health and 350 shield for 400 total HP. She has the good old same, teleporter that has the same 6 charges, and the new shield generator that provides 75 shielding to her entire team that works even through walls. Although the range is not unlimited, but it's still really solid nevertheless. As these changes seem very promising, Symmetra deserves the spot in this list, as she's been pretty much under the rug for the last 2 seasons, so let's give her a new chance now that she hasn't been fully explored yet.
This would be a perfect location for a Vishkar development.
Justice ain't gonna dispense itself.
McCree is a great offense hero who excels well in 1 versus 1 situations, and he deals a lot of damage when the Peacekeeper hits his mark. McCree can duel versus enemy heroes with his flashbang combo, which is usually fatal versus squishier targets, and with Deadeye you can execute multiple targets when you get into a good position. However, since McCree doesn't have that much mobility besides combat roll, you're forced to fight in a closer range to be fully effective, which makes him a high risk, high reward type of hero because of the fact how McCree can be killed so easily.
For our next hero, we're taking a look at Mei. Mei is a great utility and crowd control hero who's concerned to be probably one of the most annoying heroes to play against, and she's the only defense hero on our list today as well, because the rest of the category requires either a little bit too high of a skill cap, or the heroes are a little bit too situational. Mei has an awesome crowd control effect, as well as she is able to slow and then freeze using her endothermic blaster and her blizzard, which still has a 10 meter radius and is still really intimidating, especially during the capture point situations. Her secondary fire, Icicle, enables Mei to dish out some nice long range damage, and with her Ice Wall she can zone and block areas, and Crowd Freeze of course gives her a sustain point when she gets 4-second immunity and generates some nice health, up to 150, which overall makes her a very awesome hero altogether.
Sprechstunde bei der Frau Doktor.
Mercy is the traditional Guardian who is a very solid support as she works within many different matchups. With her Caduceus staff, Mercy can either heal or amplify damage to an ally, while Guardian Angel lets her reposition between allies so she can assist those who need it the most. Although Mercy is very vulnerable to enemy attacks, she can optionally try to fight back with her Caduceus blaster or just try to stay in a more safe spot so you can resurrect your allies before it's too late.
Heroes never die for a price. My servants never die. Fire at will.
Violence is usually the answer.
Roadhog is going to be our first tank hero on our list today, and he's quite frankly considered a little bit more of an off-tank hero because he rather deals more damage than keeps up a safe frontline for his team. However, there's no doubt that the chain hook ability that pulls an enemy target in front of Roadhog, which pretty much every time is going to result into a killing blow, that ability is just awesome and pulls a lot of weight. His scrap gun deals massive damage when shot from short or medium distance, and his Take a Breather heals 300 HP within just a 1 second duration, which is some awesome self-sustain as well. Roadhog's ultimate Whole Hog is also a great tool to disengage fights or just simply corner enemies into an area. Although Roadhog is a really big target and therefore he is a little bit easy to shut down if he gets too far out in the open, the pick potential and raw power that he brings to the table makes him an awesome choice for solo queue.
Reaper is a great offense hero who excels best when blowing trades in a close range. Since the current metagame is very tank oriented, Reaper's Hellfire shotguns will melt down tanks really fast and he can Wraith Form away to safety while collecting souls from dead enemies, which gives him sustain along with his base 250 health. Reaper can also relocate himself with Shadow Step to a good spot to set up his ultimate Death Blossom, that is an excellent AoE damage source with its 8-meter radius. The downside to Reaper is that he does very minor damage when shooting from a long distance, and once he's forced to use Wraith Form, he becomes an easy target unless he can sustain through his passive or that he gets assist from his allies.
You've got to be kidding me. Hey. 100% German power!
For the next hero, we're taking a look at Reinhardt, and he's a tank that's been in a great position in terms of viability since the game's release, back in May 24th, 2016. In Season 1 and 2, it felt that Reinhardt was pretty much just a must pick for really just any team composition. But now that the other heroes have been buffed or adjusted a little bit, he's not necessarily needed for every single game, although he's still just an excellent tank without a doubt. What makes Reinhardt so great is that he can be his team's guidance because his barrier field, which of course absorbs 2000 health, as he's always in front of the team to nullify projectiles and either push forward or hold the opponents back. Reinhardt can also initiate well by using his charge that pins the enemy back, dealing 300 damage when you hit a wall or an obstacle, or stunning the enemies in a cone using his ultimate Earth Shatter, that is probably one of the best ultimates, or at least most impactful ultimates in the game. Situationally, Reinhardt can swing damage in a wide arc with his Rocket Hammer, and his Fire Strike as well works as a nice ranged harass that pierces and damages all enemies it hits, which overall makes Reinhardt an awesome tank that works in a bunch of different situations overall.
Children, behave.
Ana is an excellent support who's been adjusted a lot in the patch notes ever since she got released. She can heal outstandingly with her Biotic Rifle, and Biotic Grenade heals allies in a 4-meter radius and amplifies all healing received by 100% for 5 seconds. Ana's offensive potential is also high, as Sleep Dot is one of the best crowd control abilities in Overwatch because of its insane 5.5 second duration. Her Biotic Rifle also hurts enemies, dealing 80 damage, and if Biotic Grenade hits enemy heroes, they receive 80 damage and cannot be healed for 5 seconds, which are quite amazing tools for a support character. And even though Blizzard removed the extra movement speed buff from Nano Boost, it's still a great ultimate, and quite frankly the bonus movement speed was kind of broken with heroes like Reinhardt. Although I think Zenyatta and Lucio are good supports too, Mercy stood out to me as slightly better pick than Zenyatta in a total, and Lucio has gotten a few healing nerfs, making him less viable from what he once was.
Here comes a new challenger.
Now, when the arcade patch arrived back in November 15th, D.Va got some buffs that resulted in players playing her a lot more often, and overall she's definitely a viable choice now. She received an additional 100 mech health, now for a total of 200 health and 400 armor, a movement speed buff while firing increased by 25%, and she also gets her mech 20% faster now if her machinery gets destroyed.
Fully operational.
And these changes equal a more fearsome tank who can absorb a ton of projectiles using defense matrix, fly in or out using boosters, and make better pressure with fusion cannons thanks to extra mobility provided nowadays. D.Va's ultimate self-destruct is also a really awesome way to eliminate the enemy with its 1000 damage overall, but because of the 3-second duration before exploding, it can be a little bit difficult to get a lot of enemies hit with the ability, as they can kind of kite behind a wall or cover it with a shield, but overall, if you're using it in sneaky situations or perhaps over a wall or through a corner, it can actually work out quite well. When considering the remaining tanks, Winston and Zarya, they're probably not as good as the other three. You know, Winston feels a little bit too situational of a pick, and Zarya's nerf where she gains now 20% less energy from the 2 shields that she uses hurt her quite a bit, and overall D.Va definitely earns a spot on our list.
Back in my day, we'd have this payload delivered already.
Soldier 76 is an offense hero I'd never expected to see this high in a list like this, but god damn, he's so strong now. When I first saw the patch notes regarding his bullet damage increase from 17 to 20, it felt like that the change won't be so effective, but oh boy. Soldier will destroy almost anything with his heavy pulse rifle, even despite the bigger bullet spread, which combined with the Helix rockets is a lot of damage. Soldier's biotic field is a great AoE healing source that works well when placed in a payload or when fighting in a choke point alongside your allies. Also, I almost forgot to mention sprint, which lets you move faster and more importantly reposition yourself if you're in a pinch or if you need to get quickly back to the field after respawning. And last but not least, Soldier's ultimate Tactical Visor got automatically buffed because of the bullet damage increase, and it's extremely effective if he gets a good spot to execute enemies from, which overall makes Soldier 76 in my opinion the most viable hero for Season 3 in Overwatch. And a fast note about the rest of the offense heroes not mentioned in this list. I personally think that Genji, Sombra, Pharah and Tracer require much higher skill cap in order to be as viable compared to the ones that made it to the top 10, but remember folks, these are just my opinions based on the patch notes and my own experience as an Overwatch player. Okay, so that concludes this Overwatch top 10 video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment and subscribe for more top 10 videos and other cool stuff to come. Also, the collaborator, Jeremy Gaming Curios, does a lot of League of Legends, Overwatch and plenty of more gaming content, so I highly recommend you to check out his channels too. That's about it for this time. My name is Hepodix and have a nice day.